Hello, Commander, and welcome to the Radio Sidewinder talk show. I'm Commander Steven Atchernock, filling in for Felix Jefferson today, and I'm joined by...
Commander G. Suitcase.
And Commander Kanon.
So, if you guys noticed, Onion Head's been back in the news today. I know a couple of you are big Onion Head fans out there. It looks like the Federation is trying to destroy Onion Head once again. You guys, what are you guys' takes on this?
I honestly think they should definitely be fighting to make it a non-toxic plant. Let's be honest. I like onion heads. I think that they could be very helpful to the galaxy.
Well, yeah, I hear seizures, are cured by onion head and all sorts of medical benefits.
Yeah, and I've heard there have been great boons to psychological research and help to patients with mental conditions when they are, microdosed with onion head.
Absolutely. And I think it's the Federation's going a little hardcore on this, too. They've promoted some guy, Edward Boers, to become the Onion Head Czar, which,
evilest name ever.
It sounds rather suspicious anyway.
It's menacing.
And his whole job is to fight Onion Head, but he's doing it by paying people to deliver Onion Head to him.
Which is effectively, in my opinion at least, stimulating the Onion Head economy. There's some schemy drug dealers in, Zellabara now, because they've got so much Onion Head at this point, who are just like, oh hey, the Federation's reimbursing us for this stuff, Let's just start shipping in bulk. They're paying more than the junkies.
Yeah, it's crazy. You just buy as much onion head so that people will want to make more and sell me more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to combat that, we've got the Altair Purple Mob. They are actually trying to research the drug in order to prove that it's harmless, to have it classified as a non-toxic plant. Or I guess, in the case, the end goal would be to make it more of a legal narcotic.
And more power to them for that. Let's be honest, it's time to stop destroying it and actually research and find out what it can be capable of instead of just turning it in and getting it destroyed to the Federation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's only wasting Federation funds to try to buy and destroy all this onion head. And it would actually probably boost the federal economy to have it legalized, considering they could tax it, they could sell it in actual commodities markets, they could, do all sorts of things, and they would stop spending money fighting this drug.
Yeah, take it off the black on.
If they can isolate the psychotropic substances in the onion head, they can find uses for that. And it'll take the power out of the hands of the dangerous gangs who are currently in control of this substance and I think are the real problem behind Onion Head. It's not the drug itself, it's the crime it brings with it.
Absolutely. Though it does make me a little suspicious that the group researching is called Altair Purple Mob. Mobs aren't really usually unassociated with the criminal element.
Right.
No worse than the Onion Head Czar.
I think this is a circus on both sides, really. But yeah, this isn't the only thing going on in the Federation. Gemina Halsey's actually been speaking with her family, which is pretty good news for those of you who have been following that story.
And it seems like she's been enjoying some onion head from the reports we've gotten about her words.
She definitely could use some right now.
Yeah, well, she was one of the leaders of the original, or the previous federal attempts at destroying Onion Head, and she was not so successful herself. A lot of public backlash from her failed attempts to do so.
She's probably regretting actually trying to get rid of them if they're going to help her out in the long run.
Well, I don't know if they'll help her out or not, but I do know that she's probably regretting getting rid of them, as they were what started the vote of no confidence, or started the machinations that Zachary Hudson put forward to bring the vote of no confidence around, with stuff like the Onion Head issue and some other policies that she made. That's what started bringing down her credibility. And of course, I don't know if she knows whether or not the vote of no confidence went through yet, seeing as she's just recovered from the wreckage of Starship One. But I'm sure when she finds out, she won't be too happy about it.
Yeah, she's clearly still out of it for the most part, especially because she was saying all kinds of mutterings of nonsense and they just didn't understand what she was talking about.
Yeah, something about stars and creation and stuff like that. I wonder if it could have anything to do with our friends, the Thargoids.
It could.
Potentially. But, I think you have to keep in mind that the Federation isn't one cohesive unit. There are so many different battling factions of power who definitely want to, at least there are some who would like to twist Gemina's words to make it seem like the vote of no confidence should stand for her.
Well, legally, it should stand, because it wasn't just Jasmina Halsey that was voted no confidence, it was her entire cabinet. Because if it was just focused on Jasmina Halsey, then Felicia Winters wouldn't have been deposed as president when the vote of no confidence threw. Right. It was her and her entire leadership. They switched supporting parties from supporting the Liberal Party to supporting the Conservative Republican Party. And that's a big power shift. And yes, I mean, the Federation is made up of groups of Congress members and political groups that want to get in the lead, but it is still one cohesive government. It's not like there's an all-out war brewing at the moment. It's just,
we hope people not, at least.
Well, with Halsey coming out, who knows where it's going to go? I mean, I wonder if she'll. I've said this before, and some people have mentioned it as well. But I think that perhaps Jasmina is gonna team up with Felicia Winters. Maybe Zachary Hudson's feeling a little threatened, and that's why he's been increasing his security.
I could see that.
Got 2 capital ships now. Talk about overkill.
Yeah, I mean, this has been stated several times on the show, but 2 capital ships is just unnecessary just to go around the stars. Though, if we're looking about things to do with protection, it looks like we're no longer going to have issues transporting unknown artifacts, which looks pretty exciting.
Well, that's good. I don't like my cargo hold blowing out.
Well, you won't have to worry about it anymore. Ever since the recent campaign for unknown artifacts, the Canon Research Group has been able to, at least the Professor Leia Tantaga, has actually been able to develop a technology made out of meta-alloys, which will keep the unknown artifacts in your cargo hold from destroying your ship.
Fantastic.
And see, meta-alloys are useful. They're not just this crazy, creepy thing that people have been selling on the black market that you're like, ooh, meta-alloys, those are so bad.
I think the concern over the meta-alloys is still valid. I mean, these meta-alloys, we don't know what the origination of these barnacles are from. They clearly have some relation to the unknown artifacts, just by the fact that they can protect us from the unknown artifacts, and based on the fact that unknown artifacts and barnacles, they're little quote-unquote fireflies, those little lights that dance around them, will interact with each other and apparently are on similar frequencies.
And there's still very little known about them. I mean, let's face it, you don't find the same barnacles on every planet you land on. So, you got to assume that there's a reasoning for why they're placed where they're placed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's not like there's a lot everywhere either. It's only in that, in the Pleiades, isn't it? You don't really find them outside of the nebula.
Right.
So I still think the meta-alloys, it's a good thing to be suspicious about. However, at this point in time, we're going to have to start using them because we've got that technological plague brought on by the unknown artifacts, malfunctioning different starports and things like that.
And that is a serious problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we need, now that we are able to use these meta-alloys, at least to protect our cargo racks, it's very possible we could use them to protect the stations, or at least repair the stations that have been affected by this technological plague.
And I find it interesting that they haven't brought those meta-alloys to the commodity market, so that way it can generate some more revenue of some kind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a huge black market going on for meta-alloys all over the place. You can take meta-alloys to anywhere except for really Obsidian Orbital and places that request them, and sell them on the black market. But I'm curious to know, though, if with the cargo racks being able to be made out of meta-alloys, maybe the black market will extend to unknown artifacts. I'd rather them be in the hands of the researchers than any unwarranted criminal elements out there.
Some general consumers, yeah.
As a combat pilot, I hope they make some armor out of meta-alloys. I'd love a bunch of little fireflies flying around my ship, but that's just me.
Well, the meta-alloys don't seem to spawn the fireflies themselves. It's really the barnacles and the unknown artifacts. But yeah, I see your point. It would be interesting to see what sort of technology and what sort of other things besides cargo racks we can make out of this meta-alloy substance that this team has developed.
It's also another interesting thing is I wonder if they'll make some type of reinforcement armor that could self-repair over time with these unknown meta-alloys and what they can truly do to your ship.
Yeah, the real question though is if something like that happened, if it got widespread and people started using meta-alloy reinforcement and we're using them in our stations and we're using them all over the place, what will happen if the Thargoids ever return? I mean, we've already seen some suspicious mutterings with Ishmael Palin, being infected with the Cerberus plague and dropped off, and Jasmina Halsey saying these mysterious things, and that recent anonymous message that came out about watching out for Thargoids. Now that was a little tinfoil hat for me, but it's no doubt that
excuse me.
Yeah.
Barnacle hat.
There's no doubt there's no doubt that the Thargoids could return at some point.
And it's potential that these unknown artifacts and, I guess, the metal alloys are related to them in some way. And, if we start using them a lot, what if that is the weakness that they're looking for?
Absolutely. What if they can somehow control these meta alloys or take advantage of the fact that we're using them and just shred them to pieces?
But there's also
those are the things that the protesters are worried about.
There's also that slight chance so that they don't expect us to actually, integrate it to the extent that we could into our ships, and that might catch them off guard.
Absolutely. That is true as well, considering, as we've now found out, the unknown artifacts can be stopped from dismantling our ships using meta alloys. So perhaps the meta alloys are like an unintended side effect of sending these UAs into our space. Perhaps we found some protection that we can use in the future.
And I mean, what if it's not even related to the Thargoids and there's another species out there who's shooting out probes or barnacles or whatever they're doing?
Yeah, it could be the Trojan horse.
That's just another threat we need to be keeping in mind. Another possibility at the very least.
Oh yeah, well, it's a big galaxy and an even bigger universe, so who knows what we'll find out there in the future. Right now, we need to take a quick commercial break, though, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
And welcome back. Thanks for listening to that word from our sponsors, but I think you should all be excited. Everyone's favorite sport is our next topic, buckyball racing, and they've just had they are hosting their Total Recall race.
Yeah, the race is going to be out of Schneider Relay in the Epsilon Indy system, and it's going to be sponsored by the manufacturer of the SRV tires. They're sponsoring it, and they're going to have the Buckyball Racing Club give them all the data and everything from the high-speed vehicle handling on the planet's surface.
Oh, definitely time to go practice getting around in the different types of gravity.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I went to Achenar 3 recently, and I've never been there before, and it was quite an experience. Let me tell you that. But yeah, apparently they don't really know why that anomaly has been occurring with all of their current generation of tires, where there's no tracks on the surface of planets. So they're gonna they're doing some new high performance tire testing, and they're hoping to get some information on how they work. So I think that'll be very exciting. I'm interested to see if perhaps we could get some more grip planet side for these SRVs, because I noticed there's some definite drifting around on some of the lighter grav planets.
No doubt. Those low grav planets can definitely get to you.
Well, that's why I'm always safe in space and never going down to the surface of a planet where all those terrible things can happen. The Corvette is the only way to fly.
I think you're missing out on some stuff, man. You should definitely try to pick up a planetary vehicle hangar and get down to the surface and drive around. It's a real cool experience landing on some of these moons, and ever since they released the planetary approach packages and people started going down to the surface, it's been so much fun. And there's so many stations and everything down there, so much stuff to do. It just really makes me feel more at home.
One of the best ways to get practice is going and looking for those escape pods, those poor people that have crashed on those planets that need saving.
Oh yeah. It's especially on when you're way out there, in the middle of nowhere. These people have crashed on a planet where there's nothing around them, and it's really hard for them to contact anybody from like system security or something like that to help pick them up. It's really helpful if you can pick them up and take them to a station.
And when we get tire treads coming around, we'll hopefully be able to easily identify where they have went, maybe over their progress. Make
Follow, start tracking people, though. You got to watch out then, and maybe pirates will start tracking people too. So planet side, that'll be interesting.
Oh, no doubt.
It'd be very interesting to see if everyone will accept the updates to the tires. Like, do some people even want treads?
I think it's not just the treads. It'll also help with grip and performance, and especially when you're doing something like a base assault, you want as much grip and speed as you can get out of your tires. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll be more than just treads. Hopefully we'll also see a little bit of performance improvement planet side. But also, Buckyball Racing Club, is doing its race, but the Distant Worlds expedition also finally reached Beagle Point, all the way on the far side of the Milky Way galaxy.
Congrats to those commanders.
That is such a long trip. I could not make that.
Yeah, 81,500 light years. And a lot of people didn't make it, unfortunately. Only about 25% of the commanders who set out originally made it.
Well, and it's actually not that surprising to hear that number, because some of them that made it to that point actually are driving in Cobras and things of that nature, which is a very unlikely vehicle to have made it that dedication. Far. Exactly. It's extreme dedication.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got, of course, a large portion of commanders and anacondas and asps and things of that nature that can make those really, really long jumps. But, I think in a bigger group like that, it's more likely that you'll have a bigger mix of ships, considering some people want to bring their favorite ships to go over there and say, hey, I made it in this unlikely ship. And as well as you've got a support from a lot of other people. So,
well, and you never
I wonder
know
if anyone took a Viper.
That would be pretty interesting. I could see the Mark IV making it, since you can get a really good jump range. You can get a 30 light year jump range on a Mark IV if you really try.
Really? That is fantastic.
Well, even though you're out that far, there's always that slight chance of somebody being a pirate out there, and so it's good that those anacondas are around fully loaded and ready to go.
I wonder if Iridium Wing is at all going to prepare a big incoming flight for them, because Iridium Wing has around 50 members, as last I heard. And, this is at least a couple hundred pilots coming in. Now, of course, no one's going to say that all of them are going to make it back either, but I wonder if they're going to get some people from Iridium Wing to come help bring them in, just in case of pirates.
Yeah, and
we hope them the best.
Well, and I feel like that is a very strong possibility because of all the data that they've accumulated after going that distance. I mean, there's somebody going to be interested in kind of screwing that up for them.
Oh, absolutely. The data is super important, not just to them for their monetary gain from the data, but to the galaxy for mapping out those far portions of the galaxy and, finding new habitable worlds and places that we can start to colonize and expand to.
And just for making sure the Thargoids aren't up there,
Yeah, it's a lot of stars out there. They can't visit them all.
Yeah, true enough. But the Thargoids are going to be somewhere if they're going to be out there.
I don't know, man. I hear the Thargoids can really go through interdimensional space, not just through they can pop in and out of our space whenever they feel like it's very strange. But not a lot of people know a whole lot about the Thargoids, and that's why things like the UA research and the meta-alloy research is important, just to prepare for those eventualities.
Definitely.
But it's important for us to remember the commanders that didn't make it, and the Distant Worlds, had a lovely 25 high wake salute for all of their fallen members. It was a very moving ceremony to see, and it's good to know that they are remembering their fallen brethren and not just forgetting them behind.
Yeah, you and your data is not forgotten.
No, and even though, officially, according to reports, you may not have made it all the way there, we know you did.
Hey, you made it further than we did, at least.
I've never been out that far. I think the farthest I haven't actually been really outside of the bubble, but I've been out to, like, Maya. I mean, that's pretty close to the edge, I guess.
I've made it 24,000 light years out, but that's about as far as I was willing to go.
Yep.
Actually, I have a friend of mine who was on the radio show a few weeks ago, Commander ALMAO, I was talking to him on his way back from Sagittarius A, and he was so excited to get back into populated space and fly something other than his asp. He wanted to just get into a combat ship and do something exciting.
Stretch his legs a bit.
Yeah, he said he was just super bored after a while. It was just such a long and stressful journey.
That space madness really gets to you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we here at Radio Sidewinder, we try to make something for those commanders to listen to way out in the black. And it's something that, of course, we have our friends over at Radio Lave and Radio Skarsgård who also do their stuff. But, of course, Radio Sidewinder's the best.
Absolutely. I mean, Commander Kanon's here.
Yeah, that's true. And, of course, unfortunately, Commander Felix Jefferson couldn't join us today, as he was a little busy with something I can't discuss publicly yet. But I'm sure he'll fill us in with the details next week on Radio Sidewinder. For now, all of you who are interested, we've got a Radio Sidewinder minor faction. That would be tons of fun for you guys to join. As well as we have the Pilot's Lounge. So if you want to go to the Radio Sidewinder Galnet site, and you can join in the Pilot's Lounge and just talk to any of the people who listen to Radio Sidewinder and the crew at Radio Sidewinder and ask questions and have conversations. Something to do out there in the black, especially helpful for those distant worlds or long exploration trips out there. Thank you for listening. This is Commander Steven Atronach signing off.
This is Commander GCK signing off.
And Commander Kanon signing off.
Fly safe, Commander.